All right, today marked the 8th day of Trump's, quote, oh my gosh, he made a bookkeeping error documents trial in New York, and a new House Judiciary Committee report is saying what we've been telling you all along. Radical Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg has allowed his political motivations and his promises as a candidate to drive the prosecution of Donald Trump. In this report, over 300 pages, the committee highlights the fact that Bragg used a novel legal theory, we've been telling you, to bootstrap these allegations as a felony. In New York, they'd be a misdemeanor, and the statute of limitations had already passed. Here with more, Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan. Mr. Chairman and Congressman, welcome back. An anatomy of a political prosecution, the Manhattan DA's office vendetta against President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
Well, usually in a report, when you get to 300 plus pages, you got a lot of information. Let's go through some of the fundamentals.
Yeah. Sure. Well, first of all, Alvin Bragg bragged about it. Bragged about the idea that he had sued President Trump or went after President Trump hundreds of times when he's campaigning. But once he gets in office, he realizes there's no real case here. He realizes what the Department of Justice realized when they didn't bring the case, what the Federal Elections Commission realized when they didn't bring the case, and even what his predecessor realized, Cy Vance, at the Manhattan DA, when he didn't bring the case. But he has a guy working for him who volunteered, Assistant DA Mark Pomerantz, who is pushing this case, saying we got to go after Trump. He came to work for Alvin Bragg simply to go after Trump, and he's the one who persuades Alvin Bragg to do it, not while he's Assistant DA, but only after he resigns, throws a temper tantrum, does a media blitz, and most importantly, writes a book where he lays it all out, how he was out to get the president from the get-go. That's what prompted Alvin Bragg, frankly, and Donald Trump announcing that he was going to run for president, that's what prompted Alvin Bragg to bring this ridiculous case.
And Pomerantz called it the zombie case because it was dead, gone, and buried, and then the statute of limitations passed anyway. You talk about this as well. How is it, wouldn't you consider the third highest ranking official at Biden's DOJ to be a pretty prestigious job? Would you consider it that to be? Okay.
Sure
then
is.
Why did this guy move from that job to give opening arguments and work on this case in a DA's office in the state of New York? Why would you give up that big job?
Same reason Pomerantz was willing to work for free. They had a vendetta. They had an agenda to go after President Trump. Colangelo from the Department of Justice goes to the DA's office to go after President Trump, and Mark Pomerantz does the same thing. It was all about getting Trump. In fact, these are the guys who said, we can put Michael Cohen as our star witness. I mean, the one thing that probably bothers me most about this case right now is the fact that they put a gag order on President Trump. Former president, current Republican nominee for president of the United States, likely going to be our next president. I certainly hope he is. He's not allowed to talk, but Michael Cohen is. You know, a convicted perjurer, a guy who came in front of Congress and lied 6 times in one congressional hearing. He's allowed to say whatever he wants, but President Trump's got a gag order by this judge, this obviously partisan judge whose daughter worked for every Democrat you can think of. This is what is so unfair. It's all driven by politics. The whole plan here is to keep Biden in the basement because he can't talk about anything. Keep Biden in the basement and Trump on trial. That's what the Democrats are trying to do. That is their whole plan because they know that President Trump's going to win if he's out there and able to campaign, and that's why they're trying to keep him tied up.
All right, so we have a Biden donor as the judge with family members, you know, an accused family financial conflict. The statute of limitations on what were misdemeanors passes. Even Joe's weaponized DOJ, even they had passed on the federal charges that they're trying to use in this case, which I don't think they even legally have a right to do. But yet they're throwing everything they've got up against the wall, and it really comes down to a bookkeeping error, which would be a misdemeanor. In other words, they filed what was a non-disclosure agreement and labeled it as a business expense. Okay, is that? And meanwhile, by the way, if you beat up cops in Times Square, you get released from jail and probably not charged by the same DA.
And even if it was, a bookkeeping error, it's a misdemeanor. It's a 2-year statute of limitations, for goodness sake. But no, they're going to use that and somehow say it dealt with campaign finance and election law. And the charge is really conspiracy to influence the 2016 election. Conspiracy to impact the 20. And it's funny because Jack Smith, his charge is conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding regarding the 2020 election. I actually think the truth is this. Alvin, Bragg, and Jack Smith are the ones who are in a conspiracy, and that conspiracy is to impact the 2024 presidential race. That's what's going on here. And again, I think the American people see it.
Let me ask you, do we know in all these cases, New York, D.C., Fani Willis in Fulton County, Georgia, I don't know, I have not heard anything bad about Florida, but when these DAs show up at the Biden White House, do we know who they're meeting with? Do we know if there's collusion going on? I'd like to know who they're meeting with, who they're talking to. Are they strategizing together? Are they getting advice from? Or maybe they're just sharing a cup of coffee.
Well, we've subpoenaed information regarding Fani Willis, particularly Nathan Wade, the number of trips he made to D.C. when it looks like he talked with the January 6th committee, the White House counsel, and the Biden DOJ. So we want to get all that information. So yeah, I think this is one big effort. The conspiracy. This is just I think a key point. Bragg says it's a conspiracy about 2016 on President Trump. Jack Smith says 2020, but the real conspiracy is Bragg, Jack Smith, Fani Willis, all these Democrats conspiring to impact the 2024 race. That's what's going on. And again, I think the American people see it plain and clear.
The anatomy of a political prosecution, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office vendetta against President Donald J. Trump. All 300 plus pages of it are on Hannity.com. Jim Jordan, thank you.